Good afternoon, everyone. This is the Civil Service Commission. I'm Dottie Lofstrom. Today is Wednesday, October 9th, 2024, at about 2:33 through 34 p.m. And I will call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Dottie. Roll call, Commissioner Lofstrom,
Present.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Present.
Commissioner Arulapon.
Present.
The record will show that Commissioner Lee is absent today.
Yes, and I'd like to let you know that I'm going to have a problem making the next meeting, November. Okay, could please note that.
Okay, thank you. And we will be talking about that. But thank you for saying it early.
Okay.
So the first order of business is approval of minutes. Assuming you've all read, do you have any comments?
Yes, I do. I think there's two things I'd like to see. This Commissioner Gutierrez, on the advice from council, interpretation of laws by staff, there's just a minor typo I'd like to point out on page 3 of 3. The bottom there, it says, if the county is looking, I think there's just, that should be at taking a matter to the court. It's just A is there. Do you see that?
What,
It's about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. From the bottom, the line up, the county is looking.
And this is on page 2?
2, yes.
Okay.
I'm looking on page 3. Okay.
Page 2 of 3. It's just a minor. I want to commend the staff for doing a great job on the minutes.
I'll make that correction before we put it on record. Thank you.
Okay, and then I also at the bottom of the discussion, on page 3 of 3, where it says Commissioner Gutierrez could, use of the word in the job description, it's a use of not just the word interpret, because interpret is used many times very well in our job specifications, but it's interpret the laws is what I object to being in the specifications. Interpret the law there. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Now with that, I would move that we approve the minutes.
Do we have a second? All those in favor say aye in approving the minutes as amended.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Aye.
that has passed.
Thank you.
Here, I too would like to commend Ms. Strange on her, she actually stayed awake while I was talking. Either that or she had it recorded, but she did a
A little bit of both.
great job of capsuling.
Thank
Did, and you did a great job yourself, sir.
Well, that's why I get paid the big bucks, Tony.
Okay, moving on, we have a report of disciplinary action.
Okay, there's just one report of disciplinary action for the month of October. It's an order of dismissal out of Correctional Health Services, and that discipline has been appealed to arbitration.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to accept the disciplinary action?
Yeah, I can make a motion to accept the disciplinary action, the one we did in October, yeah.
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
And all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Aye, it's passed and we will accept. Thank you. And with that, we will move on to the classification project where we are all complimenting each other. I did want to compliment the team on the work. We often have not had quite such a full agenda. I know it worked really hard to get 4 of these on, and that makes good use of everyone's time, and just good job, guys.
Good afternoon, Chair Lofstrom, Commissioners, Amy Broomer, Human Resources. And while we're talking about the team, we have added, I'd like to introduce Raquel Enong Steptoe. She's joining us as an analyst to joining us in classification and compensation as an analyst. So we welcome her with open arms. All right. So the first item for classification today is project number 24-021. This is regarding a solid waste recovery worker series. This is the outcome of a classification request from Public Works to add a level in the solid waste recovery worker series. This series is assigned to positions distributed throughout the county landfills and transfer station. The solid waste recovery worker primarily performs a variety of duties relating to inspecting, sorting, and proper disposition in support of ensuring the safe disposal of refuse and recyclables. The senior solid waste recovery worker operates light and heavy equipment at assigned solid waste sites. Each level within the series performs different duties and tasks that rarely intersect, and therefore the senior solid waste recovery worker does not provide regular guidance or training to newly hired solid waste recovery workers. While there is a solid waste recovery supervisor on site, it is typically the more experienced solid waste recovery workers that are peers to guide within geographic proximity the new staff that have come on board. So in order to acknowledge and clarify the role of the experienced solid waste recovery worker, Public Works and Human Resources are requesting that the Civil Service Commission approve renaming and amending the existing solid waste recovery worker to Solid Waste Recovery Worker 1 and adding the new Solid Waste Recovery Worker 2. Both levels will perform similar duties, but the level 2 will provide for assisting supervisory and management staff in the training of the new employees to ensure safe and effective performance of their tasks and procedures. So the senior and supervisor class specifications are also amended slightly to clarify the duties of each of those classes, and in addition, we do ask to adjust the senior solid waste recovery worker minimum qualifications to account for the new level 2. So that's all presented in the packet before you today. And of course, we did provide the new and amended class specifications to SEIU on September 25th, and we did not receive any objections prior to this meeting. Okay, to confirm, we do have available remotely Deputy Public Works Director Operations, David Tolliver, if you have questions of the department.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions and comments, but I think I'll wait and see if my fellow commissioners, they probably have the same questions I do. So do either of you have any comments or questions?
I don't have any. I'll let you lead.
Okay.
So this position allows an unskilled worker, is enough that without any experience, is it okay to be there?
It allows what?
No, I see the performs unskilled without experience. They are okay to be part of this job?
Yeah, so they do begin more in an unskilled environment, and as they progress, and this is part of where we're bringing in another level, they will perform increasingly skilled duties along with unskilled duties. Does that answer your question?
Okay, okay.
That was actually part of one of my questions. Wait, let me make sure I'm at the right one. No, never mind. Never mind about that. So is there a 5% salary increase to get from the 1 to the 2?
So we have not determined salary yet prior to ensuring the commission actually approves what the work looks like at each level. However, there is typically a minimum spread of 5% within each level of a classification series. So we would go ahead and take a look at that after this meeting and present that to the Board of Supervisors so that they can review and address any concerns that may come up regarding what salary we're proposing.
Well, that makes sense. I was putting the cart before the horse, wasn't I? Yes, okay.
And if I may just, and obviously, this is represented by SEIU, so we would be negotiating those salaries with the union as well before it
course.
goes to the board.
Of course, thank you very much for that clarification. And then the other thing I was wondering, so when they become the senior, there's 13 seniors right now. So is that more or less automatic also, that after you have 2 years, assuming you're doing a fine job, you become a senior?
It is not necessarily automatic. Part of, or large reason why we are establishing the 2 levels for the solid waste recovery worker is that the senior performs nearly completely different tasks than the 2 solid waste recovery workers, which includes light and heavy equipment operation. And with that, it's not like the work itself kind of absorbs the next level and builds on itself. It completely goes to a different type of duties. Possibly more so like a solid waste equipment operator, essentially, as opposed to a senior that typically infers maybe a leadership role or a more experienced role. So,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. Okay, and of course, if Mr. Tolliver has anything to add to that?
Good afternoon, David Tolliver, Deputy Director of Operations for the Public Works Department. Amy captured there's a slight echo.
We don't hear it.
Amy captured the status of comparing it to an equipment operator correctly. And so I wouldn't add anything further to it. We are very supportive of this effort. We appreciate Human Resources work on getting us to this point. And certainly with the attrition and retention issues that we've had with this entry-level position, we're very much interested in the salary structure that is going to be contemplated in the next step. And so we consider this a two-step process: clearing up the classifications, getting our organizational chart corrected and addressed, and then of course the salary piece is a complementary piece that will help cure our retention issues. And so I can take any more specific questions, but those are my general comments.
Okay, thank you. And the only reason I asked the salary is I was trying to figure out, because you've got these resource recovery workers, which we're now going to be specialists 1 and 2, and then the senior really doesn't seem to have anything related to that. And I know the senior is not what we're focused on today, and I am focused on the correct things. I was just trying to figure it all out, how that all fits. So, okay, so that was enough. I do have one more question on the solid waste recovery worker 2 on what they are, sorry, let me change to my page here.
Chair, while you're looking at that, we actually needed to put eyes on it as well. So we made a visit out to actually the transfer station, and so you can see that they don't work within geographic proximity of each other either. It's a very large location, and once we were able to see that and to see the work the seniors provide and then what the recovery workers themselves do, it was very clear they are almost completely separate and independent of each other.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, we had to put eyes on it.
Yes, I understand
Yeah.
it. So the basic idea is, well, I got it, that traditionally, the people who've been there for a while are helping the people who are new, and this is just to formalize that structure and make it part of their actual duties, I gather.
That's correct. For
Okay.
the recovery workers, exactly. Mhm.
And then the only real question I have then left is on number 8 of the solid waste recovery worker 2, under typical duties, where they learn to safely operate a variety of equipment. Wouldn't they have already learned that by the time they get into this 2 position?
No, what they do is they're provided the opportunity to essentially shadow pieces of what the senior does.
Okay, now I'm understanding. Okay, so this.
And I'm sure Mr. Tolliver can expound on that if you'd like that. I should step back on this one, but yeah.
Yeah, and certainly, Mr. Tolliver, I'll welcome. I was struggling with understanding how you become a senior if they're so separate in what they do, but there is, so this number 8 is actually the key to how they eventually can become a senior, is that it?
You understand it correctly. Yes, there's exposure and then some job shadowing and on-the-job training type of atmosphere. It's certainly not a guarantee if you're going from a 2 to a senior, but it's the opportunity to learn and to gain experience prior to you applying for that position. And so
Okay,
you'll see that what we're trying to do is structure a succession planning opportunity so that someone can come in with no skills, will teach, train, provide experience, and then you have the opportunity to move up to the different levels. And so the corrections today, the edits today, support that effort of succession planning and building on your skill level.
Well, thank you. Now that I fully understand it, I think that's wonderful, and succession planning is so important, and being able to get someone in fresh and then eventually have a good job with the county, that this is excellent. So unless someone has thought of other questions, I'm going to accept a motion to approve the classification project CP 24-21 for Public Works.
Yeah, I believe the staff's done an excellent job, and I will so move that we approve.
Okay, and do we have a second? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion's passed.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming. It was very helpful.
Okay, we'll move on to the second classification item of the day, project number 24-010. This is within our Purchasing and Support Services Division of the County Administrator's Office. We conducted the study of a stock clerk 1 position in Purchasing and Support Services, and upon reviewing data provided in the incumbent's completed position description questionnaire, along with information collected from the immediate supervisor and division management, Human Resources concluded that the position was not appropriately classified. The current classification assignment to Stock Clerk 1 is defined by performance of heavy-duty messenger services and in providing assistance with moving office furniture, equipment, and file cabinets. The study incumbent does not perform this type of work. Rather, the position focuses on ensuring the proper storage, disposition, and recycling of physical records and documents countywide. This work is more appropriately aligned with the Records Management Technician 1 classification, which is a classification to which the study incumbent's counterpart is also already assigned. We're asking that you approve the recommendation to reclassify the study position from Stock Clerk 1 to Records Management Technician 1, and to accept the corresponding Records Management Technician 1 classification specification amendments. The classification report and spec amendments before you today were shared with the department, study incumbent, and SEIU on September 25th. No concerns regarding the proposed action have been received to date. And we have Concepcion Gaiton here. She is the Interim Director of Purchasing and Support Services, should you have questions of the department.
Great, thank you, and thank you for being able to say classification, specification so many times. It's tricky. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
No, I do not. I think that they've done a great job, and I didn't have any questions. I think it's all been answered here.
Okay, yeah, my note says makes sense, no comment. So with that, I'll accept a motion to approve the classification project 24-010, purchasing and support services.
I'll make a motion to approve the project 24-010.
Thank you, and a second?
Yes, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And this motion has passed. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Molly Boonslot for Human Resources, presenting classification project 24-02 for Animal Care Assistant and Animal Care Specialist. General Services, Parks and Recreations requested Human Resources to evaluate and consider amending the general education requirement for the Animal Care Specialist classification. Human Resources conducted a survey of private and public-run zoos and found that positions comparable to the county's animal care specialists did not require candidates to hold a bachelor's degree to meet the minimum requirements. Instead, a combination of formal education and hands-on experience was sufficient, following the zoo industry as current practice. With the proposed amendments, Human Resources hopes to increase the number of qualified candidates for future recruitments. The draft class specifications for animal care assistant and animal care specialist were shared with Service Union International Union Local 1021 on October 2nd, and we have not received any objections prior to this meeting. In person, with us in person is Assistant Director of General Services Connie Hart, as well as Director of General Services Dan Wirtz, and Matthew Christensen, the zoo manager, who are also available participating remotely should you have any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on this?
Well, I'm just curious, this is a very interesting job. How many volunteers do we have working over there? This is the at McKinley, Mickey Grove?
Yeah, this is Matt Christensen. We have about 5 volunteers right now, but we're just getting our volunteer program up and running again.
And so the volunteers, with the experience that they get, do they get enough experience to be able to apply and get a job there?
Yeah, it depends. We have a couple volunteers that have college degrees, so they certainly would qualify. If they were relying more on the volunteer aspect of it, it would take them a lot longer, but it's not, prohibitive.
Good. Oh, okay. Well, it's just very interesting work that's being done out there. I've been out there a number of times. I think I'll have to go out again, take a look at it. Thank you so much.
And
Yeah.
Commissioner Gutierrez,
Look forward to seeing you.
Commissioner Gutierrez, I can add previously, we had a temporary class spec, the animal care assistant was previously a temporary class spec. We sometime in 2023, the commission actually converted it to a full-time, so that way all those temporary workers can transition into full-time civil service positions as well. So we do have that progression in order for them to come onto the county.
I guess they have to really love animals to work out there, huh? Yeah, it's very interesting. Thank you.
And I have just one clarifying. So now, experience alone will qualify 1 year of experience, so you don't even need a high school degree now, right? Am I reading it correctly?
It's a mixture of, it depends. So we have a combination where they actually have a substitute pattern if an individual is coming in solely as a volunteer. So they wouldn't necessarily need the educational requirement. They wouldn't necessarily need to come in with education.
Right, including high school.
Correct.
Okay. Well, I think that's great too. I think that's looking at it and seeing what you really need. So I have no further questions. You're good. So once again, I will entertain a motion to accept classification project 24-024
Yeah, I
for
will-
General Services, Parks and Recreation.
I'll make a motion that we approve the classification project as presented.
And
Second, yeah.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Great. Passed another one.
I will now be presenting classification project 23-02 for the Human Service Agency. So on May 8th, 2024, the Civil Service Commission approved to amend the classification specifications for the social worker and social worker supervisor job family by expanding the major area of study for a master's degrees programs to include closely related human and social services programs and removing the postmaster social casework experience. When Human Resources opened a recruitment with those amendments, candidates were being disqualified for the lower level social worker classifications while qualifying for the higher levels, creating a leapfrog issue which was not the intended outcome of the new minimum requirements between the levels. The recruitment identified a pattern in the Social Worker 3 class specs that retained language requiring a Master's of Social Work or Marriage Family Therapy license. Additionally, in the Social Worker 4 and 5, it did not specify the level of social casework experience required, allowing general casework experience from less complex programs to qualify. To remedy these issues, Human Resources and the Human Service Agency worked closely to consolidate patterns for ease of reference, reduce redundancy, and establish the appropriate levels of social work experience needed for all levels of the social work and social worker supervisor series presented today. The draft class specifications for the Social Worker 1, 4, 5, and the Social Worker Supervisor 2 was shared with Service Employees International Union Local 1021 on September 24th, and the union has agreed to the proposed changes. Available and participating remotely are Director of HSA, Chris Woods, Deputy Director of Children's Services, Akia Pride Polk, and Deputy Director of Adult Services, Elisa Angel Visual, are to participate remotely.
Okay, great. I must say I was a little embarrassed when I read this that we never picked up on it, and I guess we all kind of are a little bit, I mean, or not.
I would say likewise, sometimes when you have things written down on paper and when you actually put it in practice, you kind of find the bumps in the road. So we're just happy that we found these bumps early on enough to make sure that they're addressed and they're not out there for numerous times. But I think now when we've come back, we've eliminated patterns and kind of reduced the redundancy, specifically since we've broadened the master's degrees. Instead of saying an individual needs a master's in counseling with family and marriage therapy, we can now kind of consolidate that into that general broadened one and erase that pattern altogether.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I did commit to looking at some things, maybe a little more closely than I have in the past. But
Likewise.
any other comments or concerns or questions?
So this position needs both the experience and as well as the education background.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
I do
Did you have a question?
Yes, I
Okay,
do.
then.
I have no problems with social worker 4, 5, and the social worker supervisor 2. I think it's an excellent job. Again, the staff always does a very good job on these. But I object to the social worker 3, where in the abilities, we have to put in there interpret laws. And I'm opposed to that. And it's interesting, though, it's almost, I think, an anomaly that the lower level one, they got interpret laws there, and the others, they just have apply. But I would approve the others, but I won't approve social worker 3 as written, where there is ability to interpret and apply complex laws. Apply, yes, and study all that, but I still have a problem with the 3 branches of government should be separate, and this should be a judicial duty. And so I don't know how you want to handle that. I mean, if you want to, I don't know.
I think we'll be okay. I think what we'll do is just go ahead and see if we can pass it as a package, and then if we need to separate it out, we will, all right? Does that
Okay.
work for you?
Sure.
Okay.
Well, I'm the only one I think that's going to oppose it, so.
I think so too, but
And I want it written why I oppose it. Oppose it because of the phrase of interpret laws in the number 3. And I can't understand why it's that, but not in the others, the higher levels. That's okay. All right.
Yes, and we can, I know we've got kind of a standard language for you. Mr. Woods, I think I see you here. Was there anything you wanted to respond? Or perhaps Ms. Pride Polk or Mr. Vigil? Sorry, you're far away, so I'm kind of guessing at your names. Does anyone from the Human Services Agency wish to explain why only the number 3, social worker 3, has that particular phrasing?
Can you repeat the phrasing again to me that you see in social worker 3 that you do not see in the other ones?
You see ability, where it says ability to?
Mr. Gutierrez, could you turn on your?
I'm sorry, do you see that where it says ability to on that social worker 3? Have you got that?
So this is in the knowledge, abilities, and physical and mental requirements on the last page, page 3 of social worker 3. And so we got knowledge of, and all of that is said. And then the next paragraph, it says ability to establish rapport with clients, et cetera. And then it goes on to say interpret and apply complex laws and regulations. And Mr. Gutierrez has an objection to saying interpret laws, as he has explained to us many times that technically only the Supreme Court is allowed to interpret.
Only
but
courts, yes, courts.
Courts, I'm sorry, I messed that up.
Judicial, yeah.
I did mess that up. Only the judicial branch has the ability. Now, while that is certainly true, it is also an impractical approach from the other commissioner's opinion. So it is a divided opinion, and you don't have to respond to it, but we did just note that on social worker 3, there is that word, and then when you look at social worker 4, it doesn't say, it says understand, I think, Mr. Gutierrez?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, so we were just curious if there was an explanation, but my guess is there isn't, because that's not red line. That is the same standard language you've been using. And so probably you're not really prepared to answer that question, but in case you wanted to, I was going to give you the opportunity. You're like, what are you talking about, aren't you? Because we've been talking about this for 10 months in this commission, so we know exactly what we mean. Do you think, Mr. Gutierrez, that I could take back that question and we could just move forward?
No, if they can respond, I'd be very interested in knowing.
Okay, my guess is that put on the spot like this without focusing on the changed language and just focusing on the standard, it's putting her in kind of a hard position, but if you choose to respond, you certainly may.
So my response would be that the language could be similar for 3, 4, and 5. So I would state that that was not wording that we had redlined or looked at. That has been wording that has been there for years under this classification. But now that you are bringing it up, the wording for 3, 4, and 5 could be similar. Your concern is that it says ability to interpret and apply
Right, just
complex laws
yeah.
for social worker 3, and it doesn't state that in the social worker 4 or the social worker 5. So from my understanding, your request is that the language be similar in the social worker 3 as listed on social worker 4 and 5. Is that correct?
Yes.
So that
Yes,
seems
that's
something that you have no issue with going back to and changing? Just making it similar language? You don't have to.
I don't have a
it's
concern. I
yeah.
don't have a concern with that.
Okay,
Agree.
okay,
Would
thank
not
you.
object.
Okay, in that
from the
case, we
department
don't have to
perspective.
worry about pulling anything out, and we can, I can accept a motion on accepting classification project 23-24 from the Human Services Agency with the amended wording as suggested by Mr. Gutierrez.
I so move.
Okay?
I can second.
All right, then, in that case, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, opposed?
So
And it-
only one suggestion, like, I see the interpret word, it keep coming every time, and I know Anthony is having kind of a issue on that. Probably they can add some wording within the brasses or something, so that it'll be clear, so that next time we may have any concern or anything like that.
That's right, and generally, I come down heavily in favor of the department and the standard language, but in this case, the other wording is there, so why not have it be consistent, is how I
Because
see it.
we have seen this letter, this word interpret has been keep coming, but the meaning of it, they cannot change the law. We know that. So the higher authorities are code, they are the part of it, so it doesn't make the full meaning of interpret here. So to solve his concern, maybe we can add within the braces, some kind of degrade or something, so that will be easy for next
So-
time or something.
If I could, I think I can assure all commissioners that our team clearly missed it on this one, but they do try to review that and have discussions with the department. In times, as in this case, it may be appropriate to find other wording, and there are other times where the department feels very strongly that it should retain the word interpret. So we certainly will review that as part of our work and present it to you and have the department ready to have that discussion if needed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, yes, and I thank you as well, and I think in this case, it did make sense, and it's just fine to move forward on that, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Yes,
Department.
and that was Ms. Vigil I was talking to, or Ms. Pride Poke? I'm not sure who it was, but,
It was Mrs. Pride Poke.
okay. And thank you for listening and following what sort of complex that was presented to you in rather shorthand and being prepared to offer a solution.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye. One thing I do want to, I don't want to bring up something that's not on the agenda. I just want a clarification while we're here. The focus should be on the red line strikeout language, I think. The new language. When we're looking at a change, it should be on what's changed, not what's already passed. As particularly, I think it's not fair to the people who come in, the department heads, to address something that they haven't prepared for, because they're expecting the questions to be on the new stuff, not the last. So, on the new stuff, not the past. I didn't mean to say last. So with that, I suspect, Mr. Gutierrez, you want to respond to that?
No, I'll just respond to each one that comes before me on every agenda.
Okay, so nevertheless, that it's new or not, it's going to continue. All right, that's what I was clarifying. So in that case, let's move on. The next thing we need to do is set the date of appeal hearing. And this is where it's very important, Mr. Gutierrez, that you brought up that you're not going to be here next month. Ms. Strange, do you usually lead this discussion about setting the date?
No.
Do I?
Well, I think we're going to have Jennifer
Does Ms.
lead it
Goodman
this
lead
time.
it?
Yeah.
So we have a request. This commission approved the request of Rebecca Carroll for an appeal of Rule 20 findings with discussions with Ms. Carroll and the county. They designated December 12th as the meeting that would be most convenient for all parties. So we would request the commission set that appeal hearing for the December 11th commission meeting. Yes.
Okay, so not next November,
Sorry,
not
I
the
misspoke.
next,
December 11th is the
Yes.
date of I apologize.
which is, yeah, December 11th, the date of our December
December.
Civil Service Commission meeting.
Yes.
Was there anyone not planning on being here on December 11th?
I should be okay.
I plan to be here. Do we know if this is going to be a closed meeting or if it's going to be?
definitely a closed meeting.
be a closed
This
meeting.
is an appeal. This
Yeah,
is you recall, right, talking about it a couple of months ago. So this is not going to be trivial.
So this
Yeah.
will be an administrative hearing of the, the potentially several factors that were part of it, not just, during the request for the appeal, the commission focused on a more narrow view of it, and now you'll have the opportunity to hear more about the entire allegations and investigation and findings.
Do we have an estimated time about how long that hearing might last?
No.
We really don't, because the appellant has the ability to request to have witnesses and put on what she feels is appropriate for the commission to consider.
Okay, I just wanted to understand if it's going to be maybe 4 hours or 3 hours, or we don't know.
Correct.
Will the county council be representing the department?
I'm looking to Ms. Novetsky to.
We are currently still working on that component for the department.
And Ms. Strange, will Mr. Lee be here? Have you gotten confirmation from him yet?
I don't, but I will check with him, because if we go forward, we want to be sure we have a quorum, right?
I think more than a quorum. I think all 4 of us need to be here.
Okay.
Yes. So, okay, great.
If that's your request, we can certainly work with that.
Okay, so can we set the date of appeal hearing as December 11th contingent upon Mr. Lee being here? You'd rather we didn't do that, wouldn't you?
Well, we would need to also work with the appellant
Oh.
and see that that would work for them.
So we know that December 11th works for the appellant at this point. If I've, in my experience, I don't remember a conditional
Okay.
setting for appeal, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna look to Mr. Ornelas to say, can we make those conditions? We would have to come back at the November meeting if we felt that was not the
Well,
case.
you can have a preference that all 4 commissioners be here, but as long as you have 3, you have a quorum.
Can't really ask for it. Okay, well, that,
So trying to get all 4 here may pose some scheduling problems.
it could
but
keep going.
It's a nice goal to have, to get all 4 here.
Okay, thank you for that advice, and I do believe that Mr. Lee, if possible, will be here. So with that, I'll hear,
Madam Chair, you
Yes.
also have, I believe, the flexibility to adjust the start time on your meeting. So if you wanted to start it earlier in the afternoon, to allow more time, if people are available.
that's an excellent suggestion. Now, does that need to be set right now?
No.
Do it at the
I mean, you can address that next month.
Okay, so the date, but not the time, is what we're addressing today. Thank you for that
I
guidance.
think you'd like to have the department get some feedback from the appellant as to what the extent of her presentation might be, and also try and figure out who's representing the department on the other side.
They need to have notice, don't they? I mean,
Well, notice, but I mean, it's, the department has no, you're talking about the department?
no, the appellant.
They don't have to know who's on the other side.
Not that, I mean just about time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but some of that is conditional upon them giving us feedback. She has to tell us, well, what's your estimate? You know, Mr. Gutierrez knows this, when you set a matter for trial, the judge routinely asks, well, how much time are you gonna need? Half a day, 3 days, whatever it is. So you need to get feedback from the appellant as to how much time she thinks she needs, how many witnesses does she have? Because she does not have an unlimited right to 50 witnesses, and, you know, you, Madam Chair, are in control of this. So you can impose reasonable limits on how this goes about. And there's not a structure in place for these hearings. It's a little bit unstructured.
I would think that we should probably get a lot of this settled by the November meeting, but I would
Absolutely.
suggest that we just keep the 2:30 for the the December 11th meeting, so that, you know, because I won't even be here in November, so it would be probably just keep it at the same time, and then we'll work out time if we have to take If there's more time, we just have to do it at a different time. We just have to,
Well, but I mean, the earlier we get the feedback from the participants in the hearing, how much time they need, then the commission can make a judgment on whether they need to adjust the starting time. And as long as you have a quorum in November, you can make those decisions. It'd be nice if Mr. Gutierrez was here to participate. He's not gonna be here. Assuming you have Mr. Lee here next month, so you have a quorum, you're free to decide those things.
yeah, well, I'll work with whatever the commission decides.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And so we will focus today only on the date, which is the date of the appeal hearing for Rule 20 being, the Rule 20 appeal hearing being December 11th. Do I hear a motion on that?
I can make a motion to move this one for a December 11th meeting.
December 11th. And a second?
Yes, I second it.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
No, oh, I forgot to say aye, aye. No oppose? Okay, that motion has passed. Ms. Strange, any public comment?
No public comment. I don't believe, is there anyone here that would like to make public comment? No, no public comment.
Okay, thank you. So in that case, we are going to move into our closed session. Thank you all. This is the Civil Service Commission. We are back in session. There's nothing to report out on the closed session. So with that, this meeting is adjourned.